Discord should auto do it for us.
Discord. Hey everybody, I'm going to be starting up in a minute or so here, just polishing a few things really quick and putting some clothes on. Nobody wants to see anybody undressed on the stream. Haha. There we are. Hello everybody. Fashionably late as usual. I set the schedule for 10 p.m. earlier, and I'll explain that in a few minutes, and set it for 11 p.m. I forgot a couple other things, so better late than never. Hey Square Peg, how's it going tonight?
What's up, Square Peg? Really? I ran out of soda right back.
That's good. I'm gonna throw a little something up real quick here. Just giving everybody a update. The Skittles GUI is finished, and I've been testing it and refining it. I'm pretty happy with it. I've got some additional images I'll be able to throw up in a minute or two here, just to give you a peek at a few more of them. I did something a little bit special with the splash screen at the beginning of the boot up. You guys will see that this Friday. I'm not gonna show that off right now. And I suppose I can get our mugs up on the screen in a second here. Taz is printing away.
As always.
Mine finished earlier, and I haven't had the heart to go in there and pull the stuff off of the artilleries in the lab room. And get us back up on our main here. There we are.
Hey, my latest and greatest print, though.
Hey, you were showing me that earlier. Describe.
It's a AR-15 handle koozie.
I wanted to say that, but I wasn't sure.
It's got the Picanti rails on it, so you can put anything you want on there, like, and it's actually the right size. So you can put a scope on here if you want.
I was just going to say a scope for your well, that's for primarily for cans, right?
Yeah, it's got a hole in the bottom, so it just takes a 12-ounce can, so you can put your beer can in there if you wanted to. Hold on. When they're full, they're a lot hard to get out, but yeah. So it's got a hole in the bottom so it doesn't suck in the vent when you try and pull them out.
Well, hey, Square, don't you have a printer yet?
Oh dear God, that dog is horrible. Oh.
Well, we can make some recommendations for you.
Oh.
Oh, your dog did it to you too.
Yep.
Mine did it to me right at the end of the stream the other night.
Oh. You hated your Ender 3. I love my Ender 3s. They're not really Ender 3s anymore, though.
You're not going to get any arguments out of me. My experiences with him, I had about 10 of them go through here, and 2 worked okay out of the box. And it just so happened that one of them, I landed on my son in Hawaii, and it caused a whole weekend of grief for him and my wife, and they are not incapable of working with tools by a long shot. I mean, come on. But that's neither here nor there. Well, tonight's topic for the Daily Dose: 3D printing opportunists, Skittles GUI update, and of course, for me, coffee.
I think she took
You giving the dog the the I'm watching you point? Was that what that was?
No, I think she doesn't want to go outside in the rain, so I think she did more than fart.
Oh, that's called a shart.
Yes, I think she couldn't contain herself anymore, and she went by the door. But she won't go out because it's storming. So you can't get her paws wet.
Oh boy.
So I was just informing my wife. Yeah, I've been trying to let her out like 18 times today, and she's my daughter's dog, not mine.
Well, earlier today printed a robot for my son.
Thank you.
Printed some more terrain tiles and some more terrain tiles, and then I could go down the list of some other printers. Terrain tiles, uh, some pieces that are part of a sprue system for some casting in the near future. Well, back to the subject at hand. Earlier today, I spent almost practically the whole day polishing up the Skittles UI, making sure everything was working good for both the Genius and the Sidewinder, and bounced through some of the other 3D printing groups today to see what was going on, and I'm seeing a trend that I don't really care if anybody cares or not. I don't really care if anybody agrees with me or not. I'm calling them 3D printing opportunists, both good and also bad. Um, the good ones, the 3D printing community has come together to deal with the current issue and state of affairs in the world, printing PPE devices and masks and things like that, and, putting an effort towards it. The opportunists, however, on the bad side of things, I've seen companies, form in short order for selling PPEs, masks, and relatable devices when I know in their communities people are going without. Um, scummy slime, however you want to, stack it up. To me, as I posted on one of my social media accounts earlier this week, capitalism, um, capitalism and compassion really shouldn't be going together right now. Not at the same time. Not with with what's going on right now. I've seen some of the same people begging for filament donations from the filament companies, and yet I see the same people or associates of theirs turning right around and creating side businesses, and charging an arm and a leg for some of this stuff, and it just I'm really disappointed. And again, I know the people out there that are doing it, they're not going to give a shit, and just karma's going to come around and bite you in the ass, and I hope it does really hard. On the other note, filament companies, I'll touch on them. Filament has gone up way crazy prices.
Yeah, I just seen a vendor who's got $40 for a spool.
Yeah, and their materials aren't costing them anymore. Um, Especially, and I'm going to use Amazon as a springboard for this. Um, these guys have got and had stock of filament for quite some time. Um, I've seen the filament prices, and we'll say average spools of filament that were going for the 14, $15 range. They're wanting 26, 30. I've even seen some jackasses out there, bumping their filament up to like $45 a spool. And this is not a PG-13 or a kids-rated channel by a long shot, so fuck off. Yeah, those particular companies, we are going to remember that in the future. Um, Other, similar situations, webcams. A lot of people are home. A lot of people are choosing to do, streaming and things like that. The stream that we're doing right now is not, uh, didn't get its start, or didn't, or wasn't born of the current situation in the world. This has been planned for a long time. It's just, timing wise, it ended up happening right around the same time. Um, Webcams, some of the best webcams that you can use for this, like the Logitechs and things like that, the better ones averaged about 60, $70. 250, 350, and some of the new 4K ones that were justifiably over $100, they're wanting $400 for now. And again, you get the fuck off. Um, yeah, it's crazy. I've had it out with a couple of companies already, and this kind of rolls into other things that people may not think about, but if you
Mm-hmm.
do a lot of online purchasing for things, I'm lazy, uh, and at the same time not. I am very frequently putting in 16, 18-hour days, so I don't always get a chance to go out. um, I'll be honest, I order in a lot of merchandise, and I have regular shipments coming in all week. Something as simple as dog food. I've seen dog food that, say if you buy like, wet canned dog food or something like that, doesn't matter the brand, it's like 8, maybe $10 for, a 12 pack of the stuff. $45, $35. And I blasted a vendor that was literally, as soon as Amazon posted up that they had it in stock, this vendor was coming in and buying everything up, and then within hours was putting it back out there on their site for like $45. $8 up to $45. So this can be a time, exactly. This can be a time for opportunity. Um, in the long run, if you um, base your business off of this and everything like that, there's a difference between um, doing it to fill a niche, and it's not really as much a niche now, but to fill a need or a desire for something, versus scalping rock concert tickets, for exorbitant amounts of money. And people are going to remember, and after this blows over and after this all dies down and everything like that, I hope most of those companies burn in hell. You got it coming. The guy that was widely publicized, that was buying up all the hand sanitizer and all that stuff, he lost his ass over it, and I'm glad he did. I hope that happens to more
Good.
people that are doing exactly the same thing. What was that?
I said, yeah, good for him. My thing is the guys that are like targeting the groups that are helping people. Like, as in fact, the Chicago area, we have a network of guys that are donating their time, their
Hmm.
printers, and whatever filament we get, they're donating to the cause. And between the people that are advertising on the board, trying to sell everybody stuff, and then the other guys that are trying to take and say they need the stuff and then turn around and sell it.
Yes.
It's like, oh, we need donations for this hospital or that hospital. And if we didn't verify and find out that they were reselling masks and ear savers and face shields, we would have gave them out. Like, here you go, because that was the whole idea of this, was to help everybody. And these guys are taking people's work of volunteering time, companies that are volunteering to donate filament, and then trying to take those and sell them. It was like, what is wrong with you?
Yep.
I mean, I
So,
would be sending a batch of these out to a department that I have a friend on. I mean, they need ear savers, so I figured, why not have
oh, that's
custom
pretty
ones,
cool.
right?
You know, it's kind of bizarre. It's kind of bizarre. We're going to leave that special word out of the live stream, but it's kind of funny. A new style has been created, or a new trend, a new style trend has been created. You know, from this. You know, people aren't satisfied with just run of the mill PPEs or masks and things like that. I've seen some really cool stuff out there,
I
and
got mine because it's required by law in my state. So,
well, hey, has anybody noticed? I saw this earlier today. I haven't totally confirmed its truth or not.
oops, that popped off.
I haven't totally confirmed, this
There you go.
dog. I smell your fart.
Not through this.
the the
This has got a real filter in it. But who doesn't want to walk around with a Vader mask? I mean, come on.
did anybody happen to notice this week the news that popped up that the U.S. government confirmed what it believes to be alien contact?
Yeah.
Nobody noticed. Nobody noticed. Nobody cares. You
That
know,
means, what are they trying to hide this week?
they're not. Well, see, they're not trying to hide any. Well, yeah, it's like
Dude, come on.
that didn't exactly have the effect that we wanted to. It's like we're giving tours of Area 51 right now, and guess what? Those little guys that we've been hiding from you this whole time, they have families now.
Right?
Yeah, Taz, he was asking you, what are you using for the filter?
It's the 3M stuff, actual 3M masks cut down. I had access to a few of them before this ever started, so I used my own. A lot of guys were actually using like air filters, like from Home Depot, and I
Uh-oh, you went a little wonky for a second there.
yeah, we lost a bit of the stream for a minute. But I mean, something like that, guys selling like, okay, you're selling it to somebody who wants a specialty mask. That I totally understand. So let me air that out. If you're making something like this and selling it to like friends or whatever, yeah, fine, but not to people that need it. Not to people that are on the front lines doing the work and putting themselves in the line. You
Well,
shouldn't be selling it to them.
there's also a difference too. What do you say is a reasonable profit? Okay, you're home, you're not doing anything anyways. Okay, and at the same time, um, I guess somebody broke down the material cost of just some of the bands like you just showed off, the
Yeah,
one with the police. He figured his cost on it was somewhere like time, effort, whatever. Now that he's printing dozens of them at a time, he figured his actual cost was somewhere around 15 cents
Right.
20 cents or something like that. And he was like, he felt bad about charging 50 cents a piece. And realistically, and I told the guy, I said, hey, I said, that's like really super reasonable. But yet at the same time, I seen, somebody doing, what they're calling custom, and everything like that. They were charging like $5 and $6 for those things.
Right. Or the guys that are doing the laser cut ones, which bother me. It's like, okay, it's actually smaller, less functional, and you're charging 5, $6 for it. It's like, really?
Exactly.
I mean, I've had a bunch of people offer me to pay me for them. I gave them away because it's for people that are like in the healthcare industry, you know, local government, that kind of stuff. I'm not gonna sell it to those guys. I'm gonna give those away.
Hey, Mike, how's it going?
What's up, Mike? I just don't like making a profit off something bad.
Well, even profiting, isn't necessarily bad. It's just the shitheads that we were talking about just a few minutes ago, the guys that are out there begging for filament, begging the companies, and some of them, they're exploiting the vendors by leading their proposition with oh we need this for we're donating to we're donating here, we're donating there, we need them really bad in our area and everything like that. And these same shits are they've got second or third party websites out there, and they're trying to sell the stuff. And the a lot of the manufacturers, a lot of the vendors for these filaments, we all know it comes from China, okay? And look, folks, this situation that is being presented to us worldwide isn't the people's fault there. Okay, the average person there had and has nothing to do with what's going on in the world right now. And again, I've seen some shits out there just outright try to make these people feel so bad. Well, send me a printer, or it'd be really great if you guys sent us a few printers. And these same shits, I talk to under other names and things like that on different, social medias, so they don't always know who they're talking to. But I had a guy yesterday tell me that after this all blows over, he's sending all the printers back to Amazon. So it's like, okay, I I don't get it. I'll be right back. I've got to check something. Yeah, Mr. Square, and okay, somebody like you who's really wanting a 3D printer really really bad right now. Because of all the shit that's going on right now, they can't even get a hold of one right now. Hey, welcome to the show, Roxas.
Hey, Roxas, I'm gonna say stay with the stock first. Run through some of the settings, get a
By all
feel for
means,
it.
I'll be right back.
There's no sense in jumping into upgrading right away. You're gonna want to get, you're leveling down. You're gonna want to make sure that everything is like properly tight. All your wheels are aligned properly. Your bed's aligned properly. There's a bunch of stuff you need to go through before you ever start thinking of playing around with anything else. And we all get sucked down that road eventually. So there's plenty of time. And my thing is if you're still learning about it, you're best off taking it one step at a time. The same thing with doing mods, and guys don't understand. Never take a mod and do more simultaneously. Reason being, you don't know what changed. So you don't want to change something different ways and then now not know what the problem was. So yes, it's already stocked with thermal runaway already enabled, and you can test it if you want, Square Peg. You can actually just simply unplug the thermistor and try and heat it up. It'll shut down and it won't start. It'll give you that min temp error and it will not. That's one of the things artillery was really good for. Was they actually enabled it. And they also made it, more or less open source. So they're not restricting you to just their stuff in the way of firmware and that kind of thing. So I mean, you got a little bit of leeway. They're not hammered down and locking their systems out, and they're using basic stuff that actually works with other printers and so forth. So it is open source, which is nice. But yeah, take your time, get a feel for it. I mean, I didn't upgrade realistically any of my printers the first year that I had them. I'd feel it out and roll with it before I made a change. I mean, I did get sucked down the rabbit hole with my first printers that I had got back in the day. What's up, Bullis? But from that lesson, I learned a lot. I learned not to take everybody else's advice on forums and so forth, and follow the trends with what everyone's doing. I went the way making stuff work for you. Core XY printer. Honestly, right now, I wouldn't recommend almost any of them. In all honesty, I had a Tron XY 400. It was an X5 ST 400. I did a video on it. It was a horrible experience. And then Tron XY has proprietary electronics, so that's a big nightmare. If you're gonna go with like an Ender style, their build plate isn't really that big, so it's like okay, it's a waste of my time. Why would I want an Ender 3 in Core XY? I don't understand that one. I'd wait it out a little bit because I'm sure there's a few more coming out that are going to be worth the time and effort. I'd sit back and watch because there's going to be a couple of nice printers coming out really soon. I can't exactly say from where, but trust me, you're going to want to wait because if you have the money for a reasonably priced one in that range, you might as well wait a little bit. Get your feet wet with the X1. Get that dialed in. Get used to printing. Yes, I do have an interesting 32-bit, but I did wait a year before I did it. In all fairness, I had the printer for over a year before I even touched it. And the big thing for me changing, no, a Delta isn't a Core XY. The big thing for me changing was because I was going to change the touchscreen anyways, because I wanted to be able to do this kind of stuff without having to screw around. Sorry, I can't tell where the camera is centered, going the right way or not. There we go. And now over too far the other way. But you can't do two colors. So I was going to change the TFT anyways. And I was like, well, I'll might as well change the 32-bit board while I'm at it and see how that goes. So I started out with the SKR and the TFT dual 35-inch, which allows me the M600 command in Cura or other software, so I can set a layer height to change the color, which is nice. So that's why I went that route. I actually fulfilled a need that wasn't already there on the printer. And while I was at it, I figured I'd upgrade to the latest and greatest. I didn't get sucked down the rabbit hole at first because I played with it for a while before I ever messed with any of the internals. I mean, unfortunately, my first one had issues, so I had to take it apart because they had me changing out a couple of boards and stuff. But it was all back to stock when I was done. So,
Hey, awesome Bullis. Thanks for the cheers, man. Yeah,
Rox, it's going to be a personal preference. it's you have to find the UI you like to use and the interface. They're all pretty good on their own, and better at one thing than the other. I've been playing around with what all three or four different ones lately because I'm trying to learn and trying to get out of my box of being just a Cura guy because I like Cura a lot, but that's a personal preference because I started out using it so I was comfortable with how the interface is, and I didn't have to worry about this setting or that setting because I knew where to go. So it's more convenience than it is better or worse, in my opinion.
I have some model types that just do better in different slicers. Um, I do some crazy high detailed miniatures and figurines and things like that, and the manual support placement in. Oh, Bullis, that's a 3D printed robot that I did for my son. Basically it printed like that. I've already had it off of the printer, and I just laid it back on the printer to keep it out of my way. But it prints like that. It has all the supports, and it's fully articulated as well. Yeah, back to the slicer question real quick. Um,
I am on the dark side. What are we talking about?
the the manual support placement in Simplify 3D still kicks everything else's ass out there. There's things about all the slicers that I do like. Um, Kira's got again some really cool features that they're slowly putting into the software that were experimental. Um, Prusa Slicer, the has got some of the sexiest infill on the planet, as well as the variable height the variable layer height feature for setting it up
Quite
on the fly. Is
freaking infill on that though. I
what
mean, support rather. The support's been irritating me.
Well, you can get the supports happening just as pretty as like I was showing you in Simplified 3D the other day on the Daily Dose.
Right.
You just have to copy or carry those settings over.
Because I
Well,
hit the supports the other day when I was doing this. Because I ran a test. I ran Prusa to run this originally. And the supports that I used for the handle, because it needs them, just did not want to break off. I mean, they were like a rock. And I think it was like only 5%. But it
Bullos,
was glued to the part.
my thing is if you've got the money to get it, it is worth getting if you're going to be printing a lot. If you're going to be encountering situations with, and I'll be diving into that on some of our other streams in the future, um, where Simplify 3D will outperform some of the other slicers. Now, there will be arguments out there that, well, I can do this with Cura and I can do this. Yeah, it's time. I don't like fucking around with, setting a model up and getting it ready to print. I know how supports work in Cura. I know how supports work in Prusa. I used Prusa almost exclusively for the first few years. Um, when I finally got around to getting Simplify 3D, it just made my workflow go so much faster. And when you're printing a lot of stuff, um, I don't like second guessing prints. I don't like having to, stare at a printer and watch to or wonder if the supports are going to work out right. So, nope, you can't.
No, because like I said, I was trying to see the S3D one. I haven't messed with it that much, but I play with it a little bit, and I like the support features they have on it. I just need to learn how to use it.
Yeah, the other thing too is some of it's just going to be second nature in yourself. I've seen beautiful prints come off of all the slicers. Don't get me wrong; they're all capable. It's just that the more you do this and the more of a broad range that you have with the different types of models that you use and things like that, some of them are going to be more of a challenge and almost impossible in some of the slicers, as opposed to they're something relatively easy in the others. I'm going to bring an update into the stream real quick and just kind of show this off real quick. The Skittles GUI is being pre-released this Friday on the Friday night stream. That's on 0501, May 1st, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time until, all hours of the night. The D-Blue GUI that was pre-released last Friday will be publicly released as well during the stream, so everybody will be able to download that one. The Skittles GUI is going to kind of be the same deal. You watch the stream, you get coins, and by the end of the stream, everybody should be able to download a passcode to get the pre-release version of Skittles. And I haven't shown this off yet. Oh, that's awesome, Bullis. Thanks. Yeah, Bullis, I'm gonna finally, people are starting to cheer and things like that. I got to put some Three Stooges cheer alerts up. I'll get that done too. Catching up on all of this stuff. And let me get this up. Here's some of the other colors. Let me whip over to the other screen here. Just show you some of the other icons that are going to be available in that. This isn't all of them by a long shot. I just randomly grabbed a handful of them just to kind of show you guys what's going on with that. And yeah, I'm leaving it as a surprise for everybody. The splash screen when you first boot up the printer and everything like that, I kind of did something a little special with that. So that'll be everybody's surprise on Friday. And also for those of you who are just coming onto the stream, we've been talking about the GUI as I just mentioned. A little earlier we were talking about the 3D printing opportunists out there, both the good and the bad. We really gave some of the dirtbags out there some shit tonight. Can you do one where the buttons look three-dimensional, like they are shiny and domed? I can't really show it to you, not without giving away some of my monkey porn that's on here. I've got a three-dimensional button that is very similar to the frames that you're looking at on the stream. They're basically a glossy black metallic button that I started testing and playing with that could look pretty good. Bolos, the 3D printing or printer opportunists. I was touching on my disgust that I reached level-wise earlier today and over the last few days, meeting up with and seeing in some of the other groups and some of the other social media sites towards the people that are capitalizing in a extreme way the current plight that is plaguing everybody in the world right now. I made a social media statement earlier in the week that to me capitalism and compassion do not go together, not right now, not for what this is affecting everybody. And there are just some shits out there that are lining their pockets, um, lining their pockets, and I'm just really hoping and praying, that karma bites them in the ass hard. We as a community, how this pertains to us in 3D printing, we need to remember these companies when we need to remember these people after this all blows over. Um, Filaments, there's filament companies out there that have doubled and tripled their prices. There are, surprisingly enough, most of the printer manufacturers themselves, everything's remained relatively stable. I haven't seen anybody kind of go crazy with it. I've seen third-party resellers jack prices up a bit. Hey, welcome to the show, Federico Chavez, Argentina. Oh, that's good to hear. That's why we do this. Hey, Cornfed.
What's up, Cornfed?
Oh, hey, Tracy. Tracy from Artillery decided to show up.
Crazy.
Woohoo! The the other side of the opportunist ladder, that I was touching on, there are people out there that in the 3D printing community, especially, that are stepping up and doing far more than anybody would expect any one person or any group of people to do, and that's kind of what humanity's all about. This other stuff, some of the filament manufacturers, and even unrelated items indirectly to us. I was talking about webcams. Webcams that were, good webcams, that everybody could use for things like this, or uh, um, just being at home with nothing better to do, maybe throwing up a channel to share their knowledge and stuff like that. They're looking at $200, $300, $400 prices for webcams that a month ago or 2 months ago were 50 or 60 bucks. This this rolls into other things. I was bitching earlier about dog food.
Price gouging, more or less. I mean, it's not the time to be doing that.
Right, but they do.
Or taking advantage of people in need to make a profit. I mean, that's some of the stuff is being donated already. Why would you try and get them to donate to you so you could sell to somebody? That's another way they circumvent some of this stuff, and it's annoying.
Bolos, exactly. I was in another group on social media, not as my loving hard ass self that I always present to you guys, but needless to say, I had a guy telling me that he bought a bunch of printers off of Amazon, and he's gonna run the shit out of them for a month, and one day before the 30 days is up, he's gonna send them all back. And as far as profit goes and everything like that, he's gonna buy more printers. And he said he's going to basically be doing this for as long as as long as he can basically get a new batch of printers every few weeks. And needless to say, that pissed me right off. That pissed me right off to no end. Hey Tracy J, how's it going?
Hi, Tracy J. Yeah, I don't think that stuff is really cool. And like I said, I got a bunch of guys that are buying printers now, and it's like, okay, where were you a month ago?
Well, yeah, there's whole companies that have cropped up that are exclusively, got into the farming racket um, to print, PPEs and masks and stuff like that. And I know the intent. I know the intent a lot of these people have. You can tell just by the way, that uh, uh, just by the way they carry themselves, and some of the things that they're saying in the background. You can learn a lot by not being yourself and just striking up a conversation with some of these companies and some of these people out there. all the ones that I took the time to pull off to the side and talk to myself and everything like that, uh, I didn't have a good feeling after the conversation. Bolos, yes, that's something else too. The printer manufacturers, it's not their damn fault. And Amazon's policies, and it's not just Amazon. There's other people that are buying printers, directly from companies and things like that. And it's just going to be a headache. In a year, there's probably going to be so many uh, used and returned printers that are going to be going up for sale and everything. And it's just not going to be good for our 3D printing economy, if you will.
Not even good for the community at all. Let's be realistic about it. I mean, it's already starting to show some of its head being ugly with people that are popping in that really don't want to do it. They just want to look good.
Yeah. And
You
again,
know,
we were also talking about the people that are begging in manufacturers groups and messaging and manufacturers and things like that. Oh, we really need filament, or we really need resin, or man, if we could stand to use, 3 or 4 more of these printers, can you get them to us for a really, really good deal? And at the same time, preying on, given the fact that a lot of these manufacturers are in East Asia, um, trying to make them feel like shit and make them feel like they're responsible for this mess, and they're not. I just got done saying earlier tonight that all of the people in China had nothing to do with this. This we as a whole, we can't control what our governments are doing. That is true for the United States. That's true for Russia. That's true for South America. That's true for Canada, China, the UK. It doesn't matter where you're at. It's not the people that are responsible for this. So, pardon me. I'll be right back. I've got a ping happening.
welcome back, Square Peg. Yeah, we were talking, like I said, we were talking about guys taking advantage of like these different printer groups too. Like I know I've been deleting people off of our Facebook page for the Chicago area because we've been getting guys who are trying to scam with selling filament supposedly cheap and good stuff and trying to get guys to buy it. Other guys were trying to get free like supplied printed stuff, so they were trying to get like free visors and free ear savers, and then they were turning around and trying to sell them on their site, put them up for sale after they got them from people that printed it already and a donation. It's like that's not what this is for. This is for the frontline people who didn't have the equipment. It's a stopgap until we could catch up. It wasn't to make a profit or take advantage of a bad situation. So that's where we were talking about it. It's like this isn't the time to be a capitalist and take advantage of people that really need the supplies or really need help. This is the time to step up as a print community and work together to get who needs it and really needs it get it and not charge for it because we've had vendors donating to us filament in the Chicago area and we've been using it for that purpose because we're donating it down the line. We actually have a certified hospital that's delivering it to the other hospitals so that way there's no loss of custody of what we're doing with things. So ever it's open and honest to everybody. You know what's going where it needs to go, and that's the way everything should be. But it's obviously not in a lot of areas, unfortunately. Or other people using it to their advantage, trying to more like an advertising. They're going to start a business after this, and oh look, we did this with this group, and now we're a business. Help us, grow. It's like no, that's not how it works. They should be publicly shamed. So if you see them, publicly shame them. I'm gonna tell you flat out. You catch someone doing that stuff, let them have it. I mean, there's no reason for it to be. I mean, this thing. I mean, this probably cost me maybe 5 cents to make. It's getting donated. I I actually bought the filament myself for this project, but I'm still donating it. I'm not selling it. I've had people offer me money. I tell them, you know what? If you want to support the group, send it to, send a donation to the filament pool for the guys that are all printing for everybody in the area, not just to me. That's where it's legitimate. I'm not going to go out and troll and ask, vendors and stuff for things, and then not supply it to other people for free. That's when it's wrong. I mean, when you're taking advantage of, yeah, I'm going to buy it in bulk and stock up for myself. That's not what you're supposed to do either. Right, and that's the way I said. The only reason why I'm talking about it, I haven't went into my community and said, yeah, I I've been asked for interviews from different things, and I've declined because it's like, well, it's not about me. It's not about my channel on YouTube. It's not about my small little printer farm. It's not about that. So I've declined the interviews and going in front of the paper. We have a younger kid running our group who does a good job. So I let him handle it. Let him handle all the different things. He asks my advice, and I give him messages on how to handle certain things and tell him. But I don't step up and say, "Hey, yeah, it's me doing all the work," because it's not. There's a bunch of people doing the work. It's a bunch of guys coming together and making it work, and that's what this is all about. And the 3D printing community is all about that. So it's how we should keep it. Yeah, like I said, it's not so much hoarding on an industrial scale. It's more or less taking advantage of poor people. My fabulous hair. Bulletproof coffee. I've had Death Wish coffee. I haven't had bulletproof coffee. Once you jailbreak your X1, yeah. Like I said, get used to it. There's nothing wrong with running stock. I mean, I joke about it and say stock. We don't want to stock, but you do want to start off with stock so you get a feel for it. I mean, there's no way around it. You don't need to jailbreak it because the stuff actually works with the stock system. So upgrading your firmware isn't jailbreaking it.
Just as I mentioned earlier today, there's what I would consider creature comforts. Something that just makes printing easier. Um, and maybe cosmetic. I mean, we all like, to do cosmetic things to our printers and things like that. But truth be told, Truth be told, all of the artillery printers here have basically run mod free the whole time, and even firmware. I didn't install the new firmware on these printers until I wrote the advanced firmware, mainly because I didn't trust anybody else. That's how that works.
Well, in fairness, I've seen some horrible firmware compiling that has gone wrong. Um, I think Bullis is asking about having a hex file, and you actually do have that included, don't you?
All the source, all the firmwares I release have all the
Yeah.
sources included with them. So,
You should just compile it, and you can actually pull the hex off of it, so it should be fine.
yep,
I'm just making sure I was right. I don't want to answer for you.
yep. Yeah, just updating newer people to the stream. It'll just take a second. I'm getting a little bit better at this. The other thing we were bringing up earlier, as you'll see in the current stream topic, um, the Skittles GUI is finished. I spent the whole day refining it, cleaning it up, and getting it up to my standards for feeling comfortable enough to release it. I did a couple of special things with it that you guys won't see until Friday when we have the pre-release party for it. And just to give you a little shot here of some of the icons. This isn't all of them by a long shot here. Just to show you that it's kind of colorful there. Everybody was asking for something a lot closer or similar to the. Thanks, Bolus. That's appreciated. Um, the D-Blue GUI is going to be formally publicly released this Friday. People who watched the stream last week were able to get the free Nexus coins that everybody accrues for watching the stream. And towards the end of it, they were able to purchase with those free coins a passcode that unlocked the pre-release of the D-Blue firmware GUI update. That's the same thing that's going to be happening with the Skittles GUI. And I'm going to be making some other announcements about some of the other stuff that's coming down a little bit further down the pipeline. I'll let go tonight, so give people something to think about. I am going to do versions of the Skittles as well as the same original advanced GUI that you're looking at. I'm going to be updating all of those so that they can be used on the stock factory artillery firmware. So for you people that don't want to dive into the advanced firmwares or want to update the firmware by opening the printer up and doing the flashing, you'll be able to just drop in an SD card, boot the printer up, and you'll have these versions as well. The advanced GUI, the Skittles GUI, and also the D-Blue GUI. Yeah, people have been requesting that all along, and I did do an initial release of the advanced GUI's icons for the stock factory, but I made them and purposely left them a little different, and that was just initially so I could tell at a glance which version of the firmware people were running. But I'm going to bring everything up to date for everybody. That'll be happening in the next couple of weeks. And there's another GUI on the horizon too, but I'm not going to say anything about that. I'm going to wait till Friday to let that cat out of the bag, if you will. Hi, Skittles.
The square peg out of the box, the X1 doesn't have support for auto bed leveling. That would be a firmware update, and then you'd have to actually modify the board itself to get it to work right. So no, it's not native.
Ebola, you're very welcome. I'm glad you mentioned that. A few people even gave me some crap about throwing my PayPal link, up on some of my articles and some of my press releases and stuff like that. And it's like, um, if I was in this for the money, um, nobody'd have anything because nobody can afford me. that's that's how it works right there. Yeah, when I do this stuff, I'll give you a little bit of my own motivation here. I do this stuff for me. I want to have a cool option, and um, I just I just get so much enjoyment out of making something like this because it doesn't take long. I mean, to me, a day or two working on a project like this, like the Skittles GUI or any of the other GUIs, working on that for a couple of days, I have time outside of the normal business stuff that I do to do whatever I want. And this is the sort of thing that I enjoy doing. See, Frosty Bite, is it me or the stars on the leveling screen of the current firmware backwards? They shouldn't be. A
No.
old version, well, yes and no. The artillery default factory firmware starts off in the front left. Yeah, front left, and then goes to the front right, and then to the back right, and then to the back left, and then to center. I, to make it my own, flipped it around and did it backwards. As far as when you hit, number one, it goes to number one, number two, number three, as listed in the GUI. It's working properly. It's just doing it the opposite that the factory firmware does it. That's all.
So that was you.
Pardon?
When I was repairing that printer and I put your firmware on it, I asked you about that and you said no, it should go the normal way.
Well, see, the normal way is number one shown on the image. The image shows that it's the back left. Everybody is used to number one in all these other firmwares and all these other printers. They're used to number one being the front left.
Right.
I took, hey, I never said that I was like the rest of you guys. I mean, come on. I
Well, I thought I had something wrong with the firmware, and you told me don't worry about it, and I never understood why. I was like, at least it's working, so I'm not really going to get overly concerned. But I'm like, it's not supposed to go that way originally.
no, that was kind of my way of saying, how many people are going to notice this?
And you couldn't tell me?
The graphics
I've
are
been
right.
scratching my head about that for like a week, trying to figure out what the hell I did when I did the
I
firmware.
gotta I gotta figure up something for Frosty Bite real quick here. Hang on, because he's the first one. Taz, you don't count because I was just giving you shit.
Oh my god, you gave me shit.
Hang on here. I'm gonna.
Fucker. And you've had me like wondering for like a month now.
I do. I
I mean,
I do
what the
try.
hell? I'm like, I don't know what I could have possibly done, but it works and it goes the opposite direction, and you never said a word. That's cold, man.
Frosty, Frosty, let me find you. That's Frosty Bites, right?
You know what? My thing doesn't load right. I don't know if that's he's in another chat.
No, Taz, I'm just confirming because I'm on a different screen. That's Frosty Bite 3121, right?
3121, yeah. Sorry, I had to refresh my screen because it wasn't refreshed from users.
There is a command. Frosty Bite, I just awarded you a couple hundred points, Nexus coins, that you'll be able to use towards the items in the Stream store.
I still can't believe you had me going for that long.
Well, and you know, we talk about we talk about so many different things. Um, uh, I forgot to get back with you and say, well, you know, you really weren't going crazy, dude. That's really what was happening.
This is what I get for not watching your video, is what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, like I know how that works, so I'm okay.
Oh, okay. Bolos, the video that I took, um, yeah, the images might be different. As a matter of fact, they were. Those images in one of the videos that I took was before I sat down and after toiling over it for like 2, 3 days straight. The advanced GUI icons took forever. Because in this set, there's over 100 icons in these sets, and I pretty much did them all by hand, colored them all by hand, did all that stuff. And towards the end of that, when, that's why I got these dark circles under my eyes all the time. I'm sitting there, I'm like, how can I be an asshole today? But a nice asshole, just a gentle asshole, an asshole that farts, but it smells like root beer or something. And it's like, yeah, I'm gonna flip around the orientation of the bed leveling. That'll be kind of my way to. And finally, when somebody figures it out, or somebody says something or has something to say about it and everything like that, I'll deny it first. And I'll let them know later that I was just giving them some shit. So you weren't going crazy either, Bolus. Linear advance is enabled in the firmware, Bolus, but it is set to default at 0. Basically, to fire it up, you have to follow the instructions in the installation article and calibrate. Everybody has to do that. There's no magic number that you can drop in there, but it's set to 0. The feature linear advance is enabled. You just have to calibrate it and turn it on. Well, in that case, you have some questions about the starting G code in the profile. What question did you have, Cornfed? Oh, he was ready for that too. Draw first line, move to the side a little. 04, 04, second line. Yeah, are you wanting to say G1X2, Y200Z? Oh, the words for that code that were in there were from a different set, I guess, as far as notes go. It's actually better, and I have found, and I just didn't go through and I didn't change the notes that are inside of that G code, and that's my bad. I'm not perfect. I'm not a 3D printing scientist. It's actually better. I have found, and you guys can change it anytime you want. All you have to change is X2. You can change it to X3 if you like. Basically what it does, or what the intent of the way I wrote that, is it draws that first line and it raises up just a little bit and draws the line over the same line, okay, to kind of like lay a second layer down. And it's all about, purging the nozzle, because what should happen is after it completes that line, when it goes back to 0, 0 or near 0, 0 and then heads off to the print, if you're dragging material, if you're dragging anything, or if you're spewing anything along the way, that's an indicator that your temperature is maybe just a little bit too high. or your retraction is maybe just a wee bit not enough. That's kind of why that's done the way it's done. There is a method. There is a method. Yeah, there's a method to my madness, and it's my bad for not. It's my bad for not changing that in the notes. Right around the time when I was re-releasing all the profiles and stuff like that, I had the GUIs coming out. I had the Kira, I know Kira, fuck Kira. I had the Kira profiles and bundle issues between version 4.21 and version 4.3, version 4.4, and then finally 4.5. So it's negated by the semicolon. Well, the semicolon is just notes. Oh yeah, that that line right there. Um, that's just a line that's not used. Again, that's a kind of a leftover in the G code.
You got to remember, all coders have a tendency of stealing someone else's code and sometimes forget to remove stuff.
Well, it's like the Prusa slicer is a really good example. The Prusa slicer uses, it has its own language that goes back to the Slicker days or Slice 3R days. Um, there are a series of commands that you can enter that are in parentheses or brackets. Now, what are the squiggly parentheses? Yeah, you'll see if you look at the start G codes for the Prusa slicer that I released. Nobody could figure out because they didn't have a whole lot of experience working with Prusa slicer prior, or didn't come to the determination that you have to tell in Prusa slicer, you've got to tell the printer to heat the extruder and heat the bed in a series. You can flip them. You can do the bed first and the extruder second, or vice versa, but you have to tell it to do that. Now, the other slicers that are out there, Kira and Simplify 3D, you don't have to enter that command, and that's kind of an exclusive thing for Prusa. If you uncomment the BL touch in the source,
That's going to cause an issue, isn't it?
with the menus, yeah, because
well, but with the mesh bed leveling and stuff, isn't that going to cause?
yes, yeah, because basically you're going to have to change the mesh bed leveling features over to what's required for running the BL touch.
Right. You can't run both.
Now, other people have been asking me. That was one of the things I was going to announce this Friday, and I might as well just say something now. I am going to do these, but they are on the back burner. Everybody else comes first, especially since mesh bed leveling works for everybody. I'm going to look at Wagster's most recent releases, and I'll probably carry over the GUIs to those, both for the Genius and for the Sidewinder X1, but I'm not going to release any firmware. I'm just going to release the GUI firmwares, which covers the LCD. So what'll happen is if he changes something with regards to the interface, the GUI, you guys are shit out of luck until I update it later. That's a problem I was having with the other firmware that I originally started doing the advanced GUI for. From one version to the next, he changed it, and then like within a week or two, he said he wasn't going to be updating it or supporting it anymore. So people were asking me if I was going to take the project on, and no. Part of it is the fact that it's Marlin 2. I don't believe anybody should be running Marlin 2 on these printers unless they upgrade their boards to 32-bit. There's a slew of reasons why it's not a good idea to use Marlin 2 on these machines as they are. So,
too much going on for an 8-bit board.
yeah, the core reasoning behind that, and even the guy that handles Marlin even said so. Marlin 2 has a much higher memory overhead right out the door.
Right.
And version 1.1.9 is a refined product for 8-bit boards. It's for the most part, it's finished. It's working great. We enabled all the features, hence the advanced firmware. We enabled all the features that you're probably ever going to need or want. And there isn't any reason you shouldn't be able to print anything with it as it is. Version 2 of Marlin, and this is true for back in the early 1.10 days and everything like that. It was a train wreck until like version 1.4 or 1.5, and it's going to be the same with 2. Our 8-bit board printers work fine with 1.19, and there's no reason to mess around with 2. Now,
you're probably gonna have more problems than you need if you go beyond it.
Yep.
With the memory issues and the bleeding into the other things, it's going to be a mess.
The memory situation with the features that we have enabled in the advanced 1.19, all of those features that are enabled bring the memory slash resource use right near the edge.
Yeah.
But everything's in it that you should or could want. When you carry all that happy stuff over to version 2 of Marlin, there are certain situations, and I did it myself here. I went a little crazy with it, and I was getting out of memory errors. And when you compile, it'll tell you. You go to compile, you get errors in compiling and things like that because you run out of memory. It's telling you that you're not supposed to do that. So that's that. I've got a message on another computer real quick. I'll be right back again. Bolos, just real quick, I hope that answered your question. Anybody can enable the BL Touch in the firmware. The issue that you're going to encounter is doing so, you have to take out all of the features with regards to mesh bed leveling and swap it all over to the BL Touch stuff. And there's a couple other things you got to do for BL Touch too. That's a whole nother set of discussions right there. I'll be right back.
Yeah, you're gonna have to wind up making a fix to make it work right, and God forbid you don't touch one of those buttons. Sorry, keep hearing things in my room. I don't know what's going on. Printers are making noise today. And for those of you that missed my new favorite cup, I'm entertaining you. You're gonna want to mess with a couple of things. besides the nozzle size. You're going to want to mess around with your layer heights depending on what size you go with. Um, there's a couple of things you're going to have to change with the way how much you're extruding and how fast you're extruding it. You're going to have to play with your retraction settings. There's like a laundry list of things. There's a couple good guides on it. If you look it up, that's what's gonna, honestly, trying to walk you through each individual thing to change is gonna be hard because there's different schools of thought on it. But just your nozzle, you're gonna have to change your layering height, and you're gonna have to change your retraction. I know, I can tell you flat out, or else you're gonna wind up with a big mess you don't want. I only had printed the handle, Mike, because uh, it came with its own little, the old iron sight, adjustable iron sights, like on the real one. Yeah, with the BL Touch, you don't have the LEDs. When I upgraded with the MKS S Gen L and the SKR, I initially lost those two, but I got it back somewhat. So I got my little blue to kick on and my red when it's heating on the MKS. I did it. I'm still trying to get it working right on the SKR because for some reason that it doesn't like that pin. But what I'm going to do eventually, and I picked them up, and I still haven't gotten them soldered the way I wanted. Was I picked these guys up? Sorry, I have to watch the delay and see how I'm looking on camera. But these are NeoPixel LEDs, so it's only 3-pin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reprint it as a 3-pin and put it into the Pixel LEDs that are pinned out already on the board and see how those do. It should fit in the same spot and use the same wiring. Just removing one wire should make this work, in theory. Eventually, I'll actually do it, but I've been printing so much stuff lately. I haven't had time to take one apart and mess with it because I only have two printers and they're both getting used right now. So I only have two artilleries. That is, I have two more enders. I have a Delta, and then I have a Core XY that still isn't put back together yet because someone else needed a printer in the community, and I stole the board that I was going to use for that one to help them out. So, because I actually had pulled the MKS Gen L board from the artillery to put on my Core XY, and another artillery user had trouble with his board, so I reflashed it with the 119 and set it up for him on his printer and gave it to him so it would work. So I wound up having to cancel my Core XY project for a little bit.
His work is never done, man. I need to put Skittles in the window.
In your background window, or
Yeah, put them
no
hanging
question.
out.
I'm asking.
Put them hanging out or something.
I was gonna put myself on the Death Star. I didn't know how appropriate that would be, though.
Disney will come after us. You watch.
They released it for free, so it's not my fault. And they said they had no copyright on it. So
Well, Bolos, the LED light. I don't know if Taz touched on that. There are G codes that you can enter into your start G code to turn the lights on and change the colors.
no, he has the BL Touch, so he can't do any of that.
Oh, Oh, and that's right, Wagster, using the Wagster mod, is that the one that rips up the LED connection?
Yep.
That's another reason why I don't particularly care for it. I like my LEDs.
That was my biggest problem with doing the BL Touch, other than I had issues with my original one that tore up my printer the one time, was that I bought the artillery with how slick it looked, the way the ribbon cables were. Me adding anything extra to it just seemed to take away from the aesthetic.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just my personal. I said I bought.
I want my, I want my, I want my LEDs. Look at that, look at that. What, Taz?
Why'd you do that over me talking?
Oh, it popped up on my chat and everything like that, and I couldn't contain myself. I'm sorry.
I'm like, what the hell, dude?
Tracy Johnson. Tracy Johnson just said, I want my LEDs, and it was either that or I was going to bust out laughing, and either way, I was going to end up coming in over top of you.
I was like, okay. Am I going off on the wrong topic here?
No, that was my bad.
You're just killing my feelings tonight, bro. Had me fucking thinking that I was screwing up on a firmware and all kinds of stuff. Now you hurt my feelings. I don't know.
Too bad I can't use uh, too bad I can't use any of that background music or anything like that. I would have pumped that in too. Well, you had mentioned before you had the BL Touch do the drag.
Yep.
I had that same thing happen.
It not only dragged, it actually screwed up a stepper. It tore up the whole hot end and ruined an awesome print. I mean, it was like a trifecta. And that day, I literally actually tore it off the hot end. That's how mad I was.
The D9 that's at the end of the train that you guys are seeing in the lab cam right there, the upgrade for it. When I was working with Wanhao, we uh, initially advertised BL Touch, and that deal didn't work out. And then after a couple iterations of that printer, we came out with the MK2 and introduced the BL Touch on it. And after I got all that put together and put on there, I ran it about 10 times, and it's like, this is a waste of time. And I said, after this print, I'm going to take it off. And that's when the probe dropped down during the middle of the print, and it latched onto the print, and it stuck itself. It was a big print too. It stuck itself right in the middle of the part, and there was no way in hell it was going to wrench the part loose on the build plate, because it was almost a full build plate, and
Right.
it just bent it. Just I heard it, and
That's where I was at. I'm like, all I heard was this horrible noise. And I was like, what in God's name happened? And it deployed in the middle while I was printing for no apparent reason. All the wires were intact. Everything was great. But like I was saying, when you viciously interrupted me, is I love the aesthetic of the printer. Why would I want to add additional wires onto it? Because if you did it the right way, you'd run the entire line instead of running it through the LEDs on the ribbon. At least in my opinion, running it through the ribbon cables through the LEDs is not the best way to do it. But that's my personal opinion on it. So.
Oh, Bolos, is it the one on Discord right here? Let me get this pulled up so you guys can see it too, see what we're
Oh
talking
yeah,
about.
that was good. It's called I don't know how to do cable management.
That's awesome. That deserves it. I'm gonna have to start making some awards for some special prints and stuff like that
Yeah,
that you guys come up with.
I just you gotta wonder how in the heck it continued to print like that without catching it. I mean, that's like lottery winning right there. His print went right out the window, right?
That's awesome.
Um,
I'm going to use that in the future if it's okay, Bullos. You know, when somebody says, you know, I'm having a bad day with my printer, I'm going to use that in the future and say, you think you're having a bad day? Pull up some other stuff that's going
this
on
guy
here.
had a beautiful print that turned out too. I mean, it actually came out good. Aside from having his cables all ran through it.
Scanjo's printing a stack of PPEs. It looks like there. Is that what that is? Sorry.
Ow. Hey, baby.
Hi, doggy. Oh, it's fair game then.
Well,
And what do we got going on here except for that Z banding? That is corn fed. Hey, this Friday. Speaking of which, that Z banding, we're going to be diving kind of as deep as we can into Z banding this Friday. So set your clocks 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Friday, 5/1. Can't guarantee we're going to be able to fix everything for everybody, but we're going to touch on a lot of the different reasons that it can happen and things that you can do to fix it. I'm waiting on, because they're late, I was waiting on some refurbs to come in, and tracking for Monday, which they were supposed to arrive Monday, and I was supposed to have all week to prep for this. Tracking changed to Thursday, which is tomorrow. So I had intended on, because they're refurbs, and I'm going to be giving the company that supplied me with these refurbs, I'm going to be giving them a review, because when I open the things, I'm not going to cut any corners, pull any punches. I'm going to open the refurbs up out of the box and take a look and see what they look like, and give my reviews on that. But my intent was to use them for situations like this, and if necessary, create some of the Z banding problems and show you guys how to fix the stuff. We're going to have to kind of play it by ear since the stuff is coming in so late on Thursday. If it doesn't come in until like really late Thursday night, I'll be up most of the night trying to prep the best I can for the stream. But either way, we're going to, whether the printers are ready to go for that or not, we'll be able to touch on a lot of the reasoning behind that. Yeah, hopefully, Tracy, hopefully you can show up for that too. Um, yeah, people are going to have some questions and things like that, and I'm going to do the best I can to try to cover as many of the reasons behind that. It's not any one thing. I know Taz has encountered it. I've encountered it, and it's not just with these printers. If you poke around in the Prusa forums, the ANET forums, the GTEC forums, the Anycubic forums, there are handfuls of people experiencing the Creality forums. There are handfuls of people experiencing the same exact thing. And across the board, on just about all of these printers, it's usually the same handful of reasons why this happens. And one of them that nobody has been talking about that much that I have encountered often is, dun dun dun, shit filament. Some of the more recent batches of filament that I've been getting in, and it's been seemingly exclusive to a couple of colors, especially white. I've been getting some really horrible filament coming in that just doesn't seem to extrude properly. I've got my tension set right. I've got, my heat. These are brands that I use all the time, but I've noticed I don't know, you want to call it a chemical change? And it's really possible, for as much demand as there is for filament and everything like that, who's to say or what's to say that they're not skimping or kind of switching the formulas up a little bit just to get some of the old stock out the door, or use something up that they've been having set aside for a long time. Belos, if you flash from Marlin 1.9 firmware, do you still need to disconnect the touchscreen? Yes. Hey, Serial Killer, thanks for the cheers. I gotta get some better Three Stooges alerts up for you guys that are starting to do the cheers and stuff like that. I wasn't anticipating that right away. I can tell a couple of things that you got printing there. Are you printing all PPE stuff, Taz? Oh, he might have had to run away. Almost looks like that might all be PPE stuff there. Well, folks, we're getting really close to winding down here. This is just supposed to be a daily. It's not supposed to be a long 3-4 hour stream. I'm going to touch base real quick on some of the earlier portions of the subjects. 3D printing opportunists, good and bad. Basically, there's shitheads out there that are capitalizing on this situation that's facing everybody in the world. I'll just say watch the earlier part of the stream if you want to really dig deep into some of the stuff that we were saying, and I'll leave that part of it with an ending of karma's going to bite you in the ass and we're going to remember you.
We will not forget.
Yep. Also the let me get this up on the screen for you guys here. Boom, boom, boom. This coming weekend is going to be the pre-release for the Skittles GUI, which is finished, tested, tried and true today. I'm happy with how everything turned out. There's going to be some surprises in it that I think people are going to like. The formal public release of the D-Blue UI that was pre-released last Friday is going to be going on public release this Friday. That's 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday, 05/01, the 1st of May. The upcoming topic of that stream is going to be Z-banding. We're going to explore that, answer a lot of questions for people out there, and show you guys some of the things that you can do to fix that. And hopefully by the end of the stream, or within a few hours of that, or over the weekend, if you people apply some of this, to be able to rid yourselves of some of those issues. It's not exclusive to the artillery printers. All of this, or all of the printer styles, and it's not just limited to the gantry style that we're using on these printers with the artilleries. I mean, I've seen the Z-banding hitting everybody out there. So it's a common problem across the board. Nobody likes having it happen, and we'll see what we can do about getting that fixed. We're only really going to be talking about the artillery printers, since hardware-wise and everything like that, some of the issues that we're going to be going over are going to deal exclusively with those models. And let's see, Roxas, for those of us with locked up ROMs and uncalibrated extruders, the flow setting in Kira will help with that, yes, and by default I'll touch base on the profiles that I released. All the stock profiles that I released take the factory defaults for the extruder calibration into consideration. To date, and this is true for not just the Sidewinders, but I'll say for the purpose of this stream, for or on the Sidewinders. Um, hey, Mike, take it easy. Thanks for stopping in, brother. Um,
Take
the all the printers that we have here, to date, we have not once had to, nor do I intend on calibrating the extruder. When it comes down to, grab here. When it comes down to calibrated prints, oh, I forgot I got my green up again. When it comes up to calibrated prints, okay, if you were to uh, take these and run a caliper on them, they are all 30 by 30 by 30. And it really doesn't matter. I've got handfuls of these here, and I've also got handfuls of different sizes. I've got 10 millimeter cubes, I've got 30s, I've got 60s, and I've got 150s. And they're all staying true. So the bullshit line that your extruder calibration is going to affect your print dimensions isn't always necessarily true. By default, with other printer brands, I'll take the Prusas as an example. Prusa has by default in all of its base profiles, based on their extruder calibrations, set to, I think it's 96. It might have changed by now. It's either 96 or 98.98. You shouldn't have to do anything over and above that unless you notice some really, really bad under extrusion or over extrusion. There are certain situations where your extruder can be out of whack, especially if you bought it third party, or in the case of some refurbs that I've seen out there that came in that they didn't bother looking at some of that stuff, and someone else had already done what they thought was good calibration, but turns out it wasn't right. Yeah, there's other scenarios where what I just got done telling you may not hold true. But my recommendation for anybody before you dive into calibrating the extruders and things like that, play with the settings in your slicer a little bit, and you'll probably be able to solve those issues without having to deal with it in the EPROM.
You usually make slight tweaks in your slicer and adjust for it too. You don't have to necessarily run it through and save it in EEPROM.
Well, Roxas, you know what'll happen too. Funny enough, that filament tension that's on these printers, and this isn't exclusive to the Sidewinders, but in our case, we're talking about the Sidewinders or the Geniuses. Um, so much can be done with print quality and consistency by properly adjusting that filament tension. And depending on the filament that you're running, if you're running different brands or even different spools sometimes, the diameter, the thickness of the filament can vary widely between brands or manufacturers and sometimes spools of the same stuff. If all of a sudden your prints are starting to look like shit and you're starting to get some of those troubles, look at that first. Sometimes, and on more than one occasion, and this is even true for my 10-year-old, okay, his first line of defense, told by me is check that filament tension and check the diameter on the filament. And 6, 8 times out of 10, that's all that was needed. And again, like I said, disclaimer, it's not going to be true for everybody in every situation out there, but more often than not, that does happen. And like I touched on earlier about the filament quality and the consistency that we're starting to see with some of the manufacturers out there, it's something to look at. Somebody on the groups last week sometime posted their filament this is like a $40 or $50 roll of filament that was claiming to be, perfect O2 all the time, or O02 all the time. His stuff was jumping from like 173 to like 195.
Yeah, I remember seeing that post.
So,
That'll really screw up your prints.
Yep. It'll do all sorts of nasty things and make you before you dive into heavy duty alterations like extruder calibrations and firmware and stuff like that. Look at the physical reasons first, and you'd be surprised more often than not. You'll find out that it was something after the fact. It's never that way beforehand. You never feel about it, myself included. I'm sure that's true for just about anybody else out there. It's never easy up until that point. It's only easy after you figured it out and you moved on from it and you know what to look for. So
yeah, if I didn't break stuff, I wouldn't know how to fix it.
Yep. Yeah, but we all, by default, we don't want to break stuff in order to fix it. You don't want to re-engineer something that's working already unless we're just adventurous or silly. Well, I guess I won't say silly. I'll say it's only silly if you re-engineer something that's working or could be working fine and then complain about having to do the re-engineering later. When, yeah. We've already said on multiple occasions, we've had so many people get their printers out of the box and they don't even fire the printers up. A lot of them don't even run. A lot of them don't. These same people don't even fire up and do a test cube to start with. Right. They buy all of the upgrade parts and modifications before they get their printer and have it all sitting there. Right as soon as they open it up from the box, they start tearing into it, and then we see them on the groups and things like that. Oh, this thing's fucked up. Blah blah blah. This and that and the other thing. It's like,
I want delivered to my door.
Yeah. So, folks, I think we're going to wind down. Appreciate you all coming in. Anybody that is late to the stream, we've been going at it for almost 2 hours now, and the dailies are really only meant to be like an hour-ish or so. We kind of held it over a little bit longer just because we were having so much fun, and I kept interrupting Taz all the time. Information regarding all of the stuff, this upcoming stream on Friday, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, is earlier in the stream. Hope to see you there. Anybody has comments, questions, hints, tricks, or tips, you can shoot them my way, Taz's way. Leave them on our Discord. Leave them in the groups. You can also leave them on the 3D Nexus website. Appreciate you guys showing up. We'll go from there. We'll see you guys. We'll see you guys. Pardon, Taz?
So you can leave it on Discord too.
Yeah. All right, everybody. You all have a good night. Take care now.
Thanks for hanging out with us. See ya.